The astonishing story you're about to hear was forgotten because it defies logic, mathematics, and faith. Imagine this: 26,000 professional soldiers, the largest army in the world, led by the most powerful man in the East, Sultan Saladin. His objective, annihilation. His enemy, a ghost king, a teenager, a boy whose body was falling apart from leprosy, a king who could barely wield a sword, but whose will was pure steel. 500 men against 26,000. Victory was impossible. Defeat was the end. Nevertheless, in a single day on a dusty field, the Leper King rose from his grave to face the sun and shattered it. This is the story of Baldwin IV and the impossible battle the world forgot. The Sun and the Silver Skeleton, Geopolitics and the Dying King. The year is 1177. The Muslim world has a new son, Salah ad-Din Yusuf ibn Ayyub, known as Saladin. He has united Egypt and Syria under a single banner, forging an empire from the Nile to the Tigris. But a thorn remains stuck in his heart, the small kingdom of Jerusalem, a religious affront that must be wiped off the map. The intelligence is clear. The time to attack is now. The Christian kingdom is at its weakest point. The throne belongs to a child, a sick child. Meet Baldwin IV. He is only 16 years old, but age is not his true weakness. Baldwin is a leper. An incurable and terrifying disease slowly devours his body. He cannot feel his right hand. His feet are covered in bandages. Many in his own court see him as divine punishment, a leader incapable of holding a sword. Everyone expects him to die soon, but they underestimated his will. Beneath the dying flesh, Baldwin's mind is steel. As Saladin gathers a colossal army of 26,000 men on the Egyptian border, the Leper King makes a decision that horrifies all his advisors. He will not flee. The largest war machine the Holy Land has seen in a generation sets in motion. It is an unstoppable torrent. Saladin ignores the border fortresses and heads straight for Ascalon, the last great stronghold before the open road to Jerusalem. He knows the holy city is defenseless. But Baldwin does not stay in Jerusalem. In an act of defiance or madness, he gathers the only soldiers he can find, 500 knights and perhaps 3,000 foot soldiers. And he rides south, straight into the lion's den. He manages to enter Ascalon just before Saladin's vanguard surrounds the city. Now he is trapped in a death trap. Saladin arrives and sees the situation. The Leper King and Jerusalem's entire elite fighting force are locked in a cage. The war in his mind is over before it began. Annihilation is guaranteed. The poison of victory, faith and the fissure. Saladin, so sure of his victory, doesn't bother with a siege. He sends a small detachment to block Ascalon's gates and takes the bulk of his 26,000 men to continue advancing towards Jerusalem. Why wait? The holy city is empty of defenders. Victory is total. Here, Saladin makes the biggest mistake of his life, a mistake born of pure arrogance. He is so sure of his triumph that he breaks his army's discipline. He allows his 26,000 men to scatter. He gives them permission to plunder the villages. Ramla, leader, discipline evaporates. Soldiers are laden with loot, units separate, becoming a horde, not an army. They believe the enemy is bottled up, dying of fear in Ascalon. They don't know they are being watched. Inside Ascalon, Baldwin watches. He sees Saladin's main force move away, drunk with victory. He sees the dust cloud split. He sees the opportunity no one else sees, an impossible gap. His barons beg him to stay. To go out is suicide. It's better to die behind the walls than to be massacred in the open field. But Baldwin is listening to only one man, the notorious knight, known for his vicious temper and military genius, Reynald of Chatillon. And Reynald tells the king there is a way, a madness. Meanwhile, Saladin, confident and relaxed, has moved his main camp near a place called Montgisard. He doesn't even bother to set up adequate defenses. He is planning his triumphal entry into Jerusalem. But Baldwin's scouts have found a breach. The detachment Saladin left to guard Ascalon is too small, too confident. Baldwin gives the order. Ascalon's gates will not open for surrender. They will open to attack. The dying king, with only 500 knights, is going to rise from his grave to hunt the largest army in the world. It is the afternoon of November 25. The sun begins to set. The 500 knights lower their visors, straighten their lances, and begin to move. First at a walk, then a trot, then a gallop. Saladin's camp hears the thunder before seeing the lightning. Then they see them, 500 armored horsemen emerging from a cloud of dust like vengeful ghosts. The setting sun reflects off their helmets, blinding the defenders. Panic is instant. Baldwin's charge does not hit the flanks. It hits the center, directly into the serpent's heart. It's a steel hammer striking glass. Saladin's elite line breaks. The infantry dissolves. The 500 knights cut through the camp like a hot knife through butter. Terror is a contagion. Saladin's soldiers drop their loot and try to flee. The air is filled with screams, not of battle, but of panic. Saladin is paralyzed. He has seen enemy armies before, but never this. This is not an army, it is the wrath of God. In the center of the storm, Baldwin, with his silver mask, is a beacon in the chaos. Saladin's soldiers don't see 500 men, they see something supernatural. They see a dead king who has risen from his grave. Saladin knows he is seconds away from death or capture. He orders a retreat, but there is no orderly retreat, only flight. He mounts his fastest camel, abandons his guard, abandons his army. He flees for his life. The army, 26,000 men, sees their leader, their invincible son, fleeing. Discipline completely breaks down. It is no longer a battle, it is a human hunt. Of the 26,000 men who entered the kingdom, it is estimated that fewer than 3,000 managed to return to Egypt. 90% of his force was annihilated. Saladin returns to Cairo not with Jerusalem, but with the dust of defeat in his mouth. Baldwin, the Leper King, returns to Jerusalem not as a survivor but as a legendary hero. The Sultan's learning. Saladin returns to Cairo. The humiliation is complete, an international embarrassment. He's lost almost an entire army in a single day at the hands of a sick child king. This disaster marks a turning point. The Sultan purges himself of the arrogance that cost him Montgazar. He becomes a colder, more methodical, more ruthless strategist. He no longer seeks an easy victory, he seeks total planned annihilation. Meanwhile, Baldwin IV, knowing his body is failing fast, knows he can't rely on another miracle. He has to secure the borders. He looks north to Jacob's Ford, a very important crossing of the Jordan River, a gateway to Christian lands. If that crossing isn't safe, the next attack will be impossible to stop. Baldwin makes a smart choice. He'll order a fortress to be built there. Not just a simple tower, but a strong fortress, called Chastelet, the Little Castle. For Saladin, this is an unbearable challenge. Chastelet isn't just an important military base, it's like a direct dare from the Leper King, a direct challenge to his power over the area. It breaks all the unspoken agreements. Saladin promises that the fort will not be finished. The Sultan brings in his engineers and an even bigger army. This time Baldwin knows he can't use the same tricks from Montgazar. His body is getting worse and Saladin isn't the overconfident enemy he once was. In the year 1179, Saladin sets up an ambush. Lured by the raids of the reckless Reynald of Châtillon, Baldwin marches north with the rest of his cavalry. But this time, Saladin is ready. At the Battle of Marjayoun, the Sultan sets a perfect tactical trap. The renewed Saladin leaves no weakness. The Christian army is defeated, crushed by a stronger force. It's a crushing defeat, a sign that the miracle is over. Baldwin barely escapes, wounded and shamed. His illness gets worse because of the effort and shame. The fire on the Jordan. Saladin immediately heads to Chastelet, which is almost finished. There's no quick attack. The Sultan starts a 5-day siege with scary precision, using 14 catapults day and night against the walls. The newly built walls give way. When the defenders, in a desperate act of bravery, try to negotiate a surrender, Saladin refuses. There can be no survivors. The Sultan, keeping his promise, destroys Chastelet to its foundations, executing or enslaving almost its entire garrison. He leaves no stone unturned. He makes sure that gate to the Jordan is open forever. Baldwin, weakened by defeat and the leprosy that advances without mercy, loses his sight and the use of many of his limbs. But the war is not over yet. While his body becomes a silver skeleton, his will hardens into a diamond.
The Last Ride of the Ghost King.
Saladin knows it. It's not just about the loot. Reynaud is breaking truces, insulting the Sultan. Saladin, the cold strategist, no longer has patience. He swears he will capture Reynaud of Châtillon and execute him personally. The Sultan mobilizes his armies once more. This time the target is Kerak, Reynaud's nest. The siege begins with unprecedented ferocity. The siege engines roar. Reynaud is trapped. The fate of the kingdom hangs by a thread. If Kerak falls, there will be no more defenses in the south.
The court of Jerusalem is in a panic. Baldwin doesn't have a strong heir. The one chosen to marry his sister Sibylla is Guy de Lusignan, a handsome noble. But he's a bad and arrogant military leader. The sick king knows that if he dies, Guy will take the throne, and with him, the kingdom will fall in weeks. But Baldwin is still alive, and he is still the king. In a final act that seals his legend, Baldwin IV orders himself to be carried to the battlefield. He can't ride a horse, so he's carried on a litter, a wooden frame, with half of his body taken over by sickness, with a silver mask covering his face. He orders the last army of Jerusalem to follow him.
As the Christian army gets close to Kerak, Saladin's scouts tell him they're coming. It's not just the army of Jerusalem showing up, but at the front of the line, in a special chair, is the Ghost King himself. Saladin stops. Fear and respect mix in his mind. It's not fear of their military power, it's fear of his opponent's strong will. Saladin remembers Montgisard. He remembers that every time he fought against Baldwin, luck was not on his side. Plus, fighting this dying king, this living saint on his deathbed, would be a hollow victory. Something wrong that would make him seem less important. It would be like fighting a ghost. Saladin makes a choice no one expects. He orders a retreat. The Sultan lifts the siege of Kerak. He abandons his war machines. Baldwin, the blind and paralyzed leper, has just won his last battle simply by the fear of his reputation. It's a victory without bloodshed, a triumph of will over absolute power. But, well, time is running out. In the year 1185, at the age of 24, Baldwin IV dies. His last move is to try and secure the future. He names his young nephew, Baldwin V, as king. His plan is to keep Guy de Lusignan far from the throne. But his plan fails. Within months, Baldwin V also dies. Sibylla, the sister of the Leper King and wife of Guy de Lusignan, makes her move. Guy de Lusignan takes the throne. The man Baldwin feared and despised is now the leader of Jerusalem. Guy immediately makes the most fatal mistake. He gives all power back to Reynaud de Châtillon. The harvest of arrogance. Reynaud's folly. Guy of Lusignan is king. The man Baldwin IV feared, the man whose bad decisions Baldwin had tried to avoid at all costs, now holds Jerusalem's future in his hands. And Guy, in a move that seals his kingdom's fate, gives Reynaud of Châtillon back his freedom to act. Reynaud, the hero of Montgisard, but also the ruthless pirate and the reckless hothead, starts his raids against Muslim caravans again from Kerak. But this time, he crosses the final line, the point of no return. Reynaud attacks a caravan where it was reported Saladin's own sister was traveling. The tomb of the kingdom. In the year 1187, Saladin gathered an army, not for riches or battles, but for total destruction. His goal was to lead the Christian army into a trap, one that Baldwin IV, with his cleverness, would never have fallen for. The foolish Guy de Lusignan, full of pride, walked right into it. In mid-July, under a scorching sun, Saladin lured the Christian army, heavy with their iron armor, into a desperate march across the desert with no water. The Sultan simply blocked the way to the only available oasis, the wells near Lake Tiberias. The Christian army, in their armor, dying of thirst, was surrounded. The men couldn't fight, they could barely breathe. Their will was broken long before a sword was even drawn. The Battle of Hattin wasn't a battle, it was an execution. The kingdom's army, caught between fire and thirst, was wiped out in just a few hours. The true cross, the holy item that Baldwin carried to an impossible victory at Montchizard, was captured. The kingdom of Jerusalem died in a single day. Guy de Lusignan and Renaud of Châtillon are captured alive and brought to Saladin's personal tent. The Sultan, showing respect for the rules of hospitality, offers a bowl of ice-cold water to Guy, the captured king. Guy drinks and, shaking, passes the cup to Renaud. Saladin stops Renaud's hand. His voice is calm, cold as steel, but filled with the weight of a promised revenge. "To that man," the Sultan says, looking at Renaud, "I did not offer water." Saladin stands up. He draws his own scimitar and, before his victorious army, fulfills the vow he made years ago. He beheads Renaud of Châtillon with his own hands. The road to Jerusalem is open. The holy city, now defenseless, surrenders weeks later to Saladin without a single drop of blood. One question remains: if Baldwin had lived 10 more years, would Jerusalem have fallen? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Which of the successors do you think was truly responsible for the kingdom's downfall? If you love these epic stories from history, the lost battles and the unlikely wins, make sure to follow the channel so you don't miss our next story. Thanks for joining us on this amazing journey.